Tokyo at 10 p.m. Office lights click off, roller doors rattle down, and the streets fill with the quiet stampede of suits. Someone bows at the elevator. Someone says, "Otsukare-sama desu," thanks for your hard work. And then the night splits in two. One path heads for the platform and the last train. The other turns toward the red lanterns of an izakaya, where the beer is frosty, the yakitori smokes, and the unspoken rule of the salaryman begins. After work, we drink together. Tonight, I want to show you the drinking culture of Japan as it really is. Its charm, its pressure, its rituals, and the cost people pay when the last train leaves without them. Let's start with the word that unlocks everything. Nomikai, literally a drinking gathering. In many companies, especially traditional ones, nomikai are the social glue. Welcome parties for new staff, farewells for transfers, bonenkai to forget the year, shinenkai to start the next one. Even small project wins can trigger a spontaneous round. You go because relationships in Japan are built sideways as much as they are built up and down. Titles matter in the morning. By 9 p.m., the table is the hierarchy. A junior who wouldn't speak in a meeting may finally tell a manager what's actually blocking the project, over skewers and a highball. There's even a nickname for this, Nomunication. Drink plus communication. Etiquette is simple, and very not simple. Never pour your own drink first. Watch your neighbor's glass. Topping it up shows attention. Wait for the kanpai toast before you sip, even if you're thirsty. If you don't drink alcohol, no drama. Order oolong tea, soda with lemon, or one of the many 0% beers and join the kanpai anyway. The point is the togetherness, not the ABV. But here's where the nuance kicks in. You'll hear that refusing a drink is rude. In most modern offices, that's fading. What's rude is disappearing from the team. Show up, be present, and no one sensible will force you to get drunk. Still, there are industries and bosses who haven't read the memo, so people develop polite shields. I'm on meds. I'm training. I'm the designated walker. Or simply, today I'll keep it light. In a culture that prizes harmony, a soft no travels further than a hard one. Now the part that outsiders are shocked by, the expectation of frequency. In some teams, after-work drinks aren't a Friday treat, they're a rhythm. Monday, client dinner. Tuesday, team debrief at a standing bar. Wednesday, karaoke nijikai. The second round, maybe the third. Thursday, supplier meetup. Then it's Friday, and who's going home early on a Friday? There's a stereotype that it's disrespectful to skip these nights. The truth is messier. If you never join, you'll feel it in the room the next morning. But if you go out and drink every single night, that can be seen as disrespectful in a different way. To your family, to your health, even to your colleagues if you show up foggy. The unspoken ideal is balance. You turn up often enough to prove you're part of the we, and you bow out often enough to prove you're still in charge of your life. And yet, many people still miss that balance because of the clock. Trains in Tokyo and most big cities don't run all night. Miss the last ride, often around midnight, and your choices narrow quickly. You can pay for a taxi across a megacity, that can hurt. You can power nap on a bench until first train, you'll see plenty do it. You can drop into a 24-hour manga cafe, a capsule hotel, a Sento bathhouse with reclining chairs, or you can trudge to a convenience store for onigiri, a warm Odin cup, and a bottled blanket of sugar and electrolytes that says, "We'll get you to morning." And you'll find an entire shelf of hangover prevention and recovery drinks. Small amber bottles with names that suggest liver support or turmeric power. Drinks that taste like citrus and earth. Designed to be sipped before the first kanpai or chugged on the way home. Are they magic? Number. But a lot of people swear by them. Next to them, ion drinks, salt candies, pickled plums, miso soup bowls. The old and new remedies side by side. Japan doesn't just have a drinking culture, it has an infrastructure for drinking. Let's step back to the table. A typical night begins with beer or a lemon sour, shared plates, and the first stories of the day. By the second round, the conversation loosens. Formal Japanese melts into dialect and jokes. The barrier between senpai and kohai, senior and junior, drops enough for honesty to sneak through. Someone apologizes for snapping in the meeting. Someone thanks a teammate for covering a deadline. This is the bright side. Problems get solved at 9 p.m. that never would at 9 a.m. It's one reason Nomikai survived remote work. Humans need unstructured talk to build trust. But the night has shadows. Pressure is real. The person who can't drink for religious, medical, or personal reasons learns to perform belonging without alcohol. The person with a long commute watches the clock like it's a countdown to a fine. Parents trade away bedtime stories for bar stories because refusing the invite carries a cost they can't see but definitely feel. And the person who's struggling, really struggling, knows that self-medicating under the banner of team spirit looks a lot like loyalty until it doesn't. There's also the budget. Many izakaya offer nomi hodai, fixed price, all-you-can-drink windows. 90 minutes, 120 minutes, a set menu, refills on a timer. It's efficient, predictable, and dangerous if you treat the clock as a dare. Add the nijikai, the second party, maybe karaoke for a third round, and the bill at the end of the month can look like a second rent.
If you're visiting Japan, you'll see this culture everywhere. A group in suits rehearsing the chorus of an 80s ballad outside a karaoke box. A man asleep upright on the last train, briefcase in his lap, waking one stop too late and laughing about it. A row of tiny glasses, a line for kanpai. Someone gently rotating the bottle so the label faces out. Little gestures of respect, baked into muscle memory. Join it once and you'll understand the appeal. People who are buttoned up all day suddenly breathe. They praise more. They forgive more. For a few hours, the company feels like a team again.
So why do you also hear that the culture is changing? Because it is. Younger workers drink less, or less often. Many companies now have HR guidelines about coercion. No one should feel forced to drink, and managers are responsible for the tone. 0% beer and mocktails are on every menu. Some teams schedule lunch kai, the same bonding, sunlight included. Long commutes, childcare, and the memory of remote work taught people new boundaries. The ritual is bending. It hasn't broken. There's a deeper layer we have to talk about. Mental health. Japan has a word everyone outside also knows now. Karoshi. Death from overwork. That's the extreme, but before you get there, there's the grind. Long hours, politeness load, performance pressure, family obligations, and then the social expectation to keep showing up at night. Alcohol can feel like a pressure valve. For some, it is. For others, it quietly rewires the week. Sleep quality drops. Mornings begin with a headache and a guilt knot. Anxiety spikes at 4 p.m. when the group chat pings. Izakaya? You tell yourself it's just today. Then it's Thursday, and you can't remember what you had for dinner on Tuesday. Culturally, people are getting better at naming this. Companies bring in counselors. Municipalities run campaigns about moderation and safe rides. Friends look out for each other. The colleague who slips you water between sours. The manager who sets an example by leaving after the first round. The teammate who says, let's do coffee tomorrow instead. But it's still hard to swim against a current that's been flowing for decades. If you're living in Japan, the practical strategies matter. Choose a soft signature drink. Oolong tea in a highball glass. No one bats an eye. Commit to ichijikai only, the first party, and make your exit before last train. Wear the reputation of light drinker like armor. Offer to be the organizer. The organizer picks earlier times and nearer venues. And if you need the most powerful phrase in the language of polite refusal, here it is. Kyo wa mo shimasen. Not for me today. Said with a smile, said consistently, it works. There's another unspoken pressure point. What does nightly drinking say to the people waiting at home? Partners, kids, parents? The silent calculus of absence adds up. In some neighborhoods, habitually stumbling in becomes a small social shame. In others, it's a private ache that shows up at school plays missed or weekend energy that never arrives. That's why drinking every day can be seen as disrespectful, not only to your body, but to the people you owe your best self. The culture expects you to show up for the team. Your family expects the same. When those expectations collide, someone pays. And yet, to tell only the cautionary tale would miss the heart. Drinking culture in Japan survives because it isn't only about drinking. It's about ritual, the whisper of otsu kare, the first hiss of a beer can, the clink before the first sip, the way a boss says something kind they couldn't in daylight, the way colleagues see each other as people rather than roles. For many, that's worth a glass, not a bottle. So where does this go next? Likely toward choice. More no-alcohol options that don't feel like punishment. More earlier meetups. More managers explicitly saying kanpai with tea and calling it leadership, not weakness. More teams that rotate. One big blowout a quarter and smaller optional nights where the invite really is optional. And more konbini shelves that acknowledge reality. The hangover prevention drinks next to the herbal teas that help you sleep. The miso cups next to the ion water. The quiet note that says, "See you tomorrow," in one piece. If you're visiting and you find yourself invited, say yes once. You'll learn more about Japan in 2 hours at an izakaya than in 2 days of museums. Watch the choreography, the shared plates, the poured glasses, the apologies, the laughter, the phone alarms for the last train, the synchronized standing when someone checks the clock and says, "Let's go." You'll also see the fork in the night. Half the group heads for the platform, the others wave and drift toward the neon. Both choices make sense when you understand the currents underneath. And if you live here, remember this. In a culture that runs on harmony, real harmony includes the self. You can honor the team and still honor your limits. You can say kanpai with tea. You can leave after the first round and still be invited to the second next time. You can be the person who organizes lunch instead of karaoke, who brings non-alcoholic drinks to the office fridge, who asks a colleague on the bench if they're okay, and means it. The last trains will keep their schedule. The lanterns will keep swinging in the breeze. The konbini fridges will keep humming, with little amber bottles that promise to soften tomorrow. The choice is ours, every night. Show up for each other, show up for ourselves, and build a version of the Nomikai that leaves everyone standing when the morning comes. If this helped you see the culture behind the clink of glasses, the rituals, the expectations, the costs, and the care, tell me your experience. Are you the first to shout kanpai, or the first to point at the clock and say, "Let's catch that last train"? Either way, thanks for watching. Otsukare-sama.